All right, well, we're looking at something that we're belaboring, Genesis chapter 1, because if you talk to people about your Christian faith and the basis upon which you base your beliefs, the Bible, and how reliable it is, they'll say, yeah, well, let's just look at Genesis 1, and then look at the different person who wrote Genesis 2. They contradict one another, so it's ridiculous. I'm not reading that book. Well, you have to say, well, let's just take a look at Genesis chapter 1. And then they try to impose their own ideas on it, but we've looked at it carefully, and we've decided what it says without editorializing it. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. This is just the beginning of how God created the heavens and the earth. I don't know what else you could read into that. You only read from it, don't read into it. So now the earth was formless, and the Spirit of God was moving over the waters, in the sense that the earth was formless, not chaotic, because it reflected evil, but not because it reflected evil. So it's not chaotic because it reflected evil, but because before the land appeared on the surface of the earth, its surface was a watery and formless one. If you have some water, and somebody puts some water in your hands, it's formless. It just flows all over the place. It's watery. It's liquid water having no form of its own. How hard is that? God had not yet gotten to the step, which is verse 9, when the waters would be gathered to one place, so as to let the dry ground appear with formations. He's giving you the very beginning. A lot of people say, I don't understand. Well, let me pour some water in your hands. What form does it have? It just goes all over the place. And it's wet. It's watery. And they probably still won't understand because they don't have the mental framework of the desire to really understand what it's saying. It's not saying anything more than what it says. So Dr. Barr, in his work, says these verses, Genesis 1, 1-2, show that even on the first day of creation, before God created light, oh, by the way, there's no light. Why? Because God didn't create it. He's creator. He didn't create it yet. So God created the earth in a watery form. This is extremely important. If you don't get off on the right step, you're off on a tangent, and it's just like when you're flying an airplane. You're 1 degree off when you take off. You're not even going to come close to your destination. Studies done by renowned physicists, such as Dr. Russell Humphreys, show that each molecule of water possesses a single electromagnetic field. When these molecules are aligned, the result is a composite electromagnetic charge of all the molecules of water that are aligned. When all these molecules are in composite alignment, you have the composite energy of all of the molecules. Science. So imagine huge amount of water that fills the universe in a limited area, a black hole. It's all compressed, the most compressed area of when the universe existed, because it's going to be expanded out, and all that water so compressed, without electromagnetic field, without the gravitational capacity. It's so compressed, it's unbelievably hot and ready to expand out. And the Holy Spirit is going to use this matter to form the entire universe. So it's something like, I don't know how many trillions of miles across, but that's small compared to the size of the universe today. God began by creating the earth first in all the universe, even before creating the electromagnetic spectrum of light into the heavenly bodies such as the sun and the stellar heavens. Wait for the day he does that. God first created the earth as a sphere of water, the life forms that God would create on day number 3, vegetation, plants, and trees, being in botanical form, would require this water. On day number 5, God would design the fish and the fowl, all from this matter. Each of these creatures would require this water. On day number 6, God would create insects, dinosaurs, man, and woman before the day was finished. So he's still on day 1. Give him a break. Note that God, the Holy Spirit, was actively involved in creation. The word spirit, ruach, can mean wind, breath, or spirit, depending upon context. Here the context demands that the word means God, the Holy Spirit is God alone, is creator. And so God, the Holy Spirit, moved, moved, hovered, or also shaked, fluttered over the surface of the waters. A purposeful vibration in order to accomplish the next stage in creation, energizing the matter of the universe. See, there's some scientific words here in Genesis 1:1-2. Isn't that amazing? Just look at it and pay attention. Henry Morris, scientist himself, it is significant that the transmission of energy in the operations of the cosmos is in the form of waves, light waves, heat waves, sound waves, and so forth. God is a scientist. He created it. In fact, except for the nuclear forces which are involved in the structure of matter itself, there are only two functional types of forces that operate on matter: the gravitational forces and the forces of the electromagnetic spectrum. All are associated with the field of activity and with transmission by wave motion. Waves are typically rapid, back and forth movements, and they are normally produced by the vibratory motion of a wave generator of some kind. Guess who that is? The Holy Spirit. Energy can create itself. It is most appropriate that the first impartation of energy to the universe is described as the vibrating movement of the Spirit of God Himself. As the outflowing energy from God's omnipresent Spirit began to flow outward and to permeate the cosmos, gravitational forces were activated, and water and earth particles came together to form a great sphere moving through space. Other such particles would soon come together also to form sun, moon, and stars throughout the universe. There was now a compass, a circle on the face of the deep, describing the water, the deep, and the formless earth. Remember, no form. You think of earth as this sphere, that's when the work is completed. This formless earth, totally water, compressed, no electromagnetic, no gravity, yet. Formless earth had assumed the beautiful form of a perfect sphere. Now it's being formed. See, now it's a sphere. By the way, it's not flat, it's a sphere. It was now ready for light and heat and other forms of enlivening energy. Enlivening energy. Dr. Russell Humphreys. God creates a large 3D space, and within it a ball of liquid, water, the deep. He's got the space, and he puts water in it. The ball is greater than 2 light years in diameter, 2 light years, large enough to contain all the mass of the universe. 2 light years is surprisingly small compared to the later size of the universe, but it is still huge, about 12 trillion miles, or 20 trillion kilometers, compared to us. In other words, our location here in space being more than 1,000 times greater than the diameter of our solar system. Imagine floating on the face of the deep and gazing down into its unimaginable depths. That is why I think God called it the deep. Because of the great concentration of matter, this ball of water is deep within a black hole, whose event horizon, which is defined as the point at which light rays trying to escape a black hole bend back on themselves, is more than 500 million light years away. So it compressed itself down to the point where no light came out. The Earth at this point is merely a formless, undefined region of water at the center of the deep, empty of inhabitants or feature. The deep is rotating slowly, and there is no visible light at its surface at the instant God creates it. So picture that. Because the enormous mass of the whole universe is contained at this point in a ball of relatively small size to the size of the overall size of the universe today, the gravitational force on the deep is very strong. How about more than 1,000,000 trillion Gs? This force compresses the deep very rapidly toward the center, making it extremely hot and dense. The heat rips apart the water molecules, atoms, even the nuclei into elementary particles. Now he's got stuff to work with. It's like an artist. Now he's got his canvas to work with. So we go to Genesis 1:3-5, the day-age theory. People take a look at this and impose this day-age theory all over it. Verse 3-5. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. This is for our benefit, He doesn't have to know what things are. He already knows. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. Now, read into this. Yeah, here we go. Successive days in Hebrew with an ordinal adjective and an evening and a morning. What are they? Solar, 24-hour days. But there's no sun. Doesn't matter. God is being who He is. He's creating. Later on, He's going to create the sun, which will coincide with what He's doing now. He's the artist. Leave Him alone. Let Him do His work. In spite of popular opinion, the word day, the Hebrew yom, cannot be taken here as age or some other long period of time. The word day equals yom in the Hebrew Old Testament always means what? A literal 24-hour day when accompanied with an ordinal adjective meaning first, second, third. What do we have? First day. First day. 24-hour day. Well, man wasn't there. I know, but God knows what He's going to do. Leave Him alone. Let Him do His work. And always means a literal 24-hour day when it contains an evening and a morning. What billion-year period of time has first day, which is billions of years, and it has an evening and a morning? How is man going to understand that other than just the way he understands these words, according to the use of language, in this case Hebrew, or translated into modern 21st century English? Don't impose anything on there. Don't try to outsmart God. James Stambaugh states in The Days of Creation a semantic approach. You approach this account semantically. Why? Because it's words. You take the way words are used in language, like in modern 21st century translation that's accurate from the ancient Hebrew, and you get what you're supposed to get, because you learn to read in school in the same way the words are used according to grammar books in English and dictionaries in English. So the word yom, either singular or plural, is used with a number 359 times outside of Genesis 1. There are 4 prominent ways in which yom could be combined with a number to bring forth a certain significance. We're looking at this semantically. First, when the plural noun form is used with a cardinal number, in other words, 1, 2, 3, and so on, it denotes a specific duration of time. Exceptions which contain a singular form of yom do occur, but are infrequent. This construction occurs 189 times. An example of this can be seen in Genesis 30:36. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob. What do you think that's, 3 billion years? The second uses the preposition on or for to show that an action is to take place on a specific yom. The number used in this construction is generally an ordinal, first, second, third, with yom, an ordinal adjective, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, in the singular, and occurs 162 times. So we're looking at this semantically. This can be illustrated by Exodus 24:16. For 6 days the glory covered the mountain, and on the 7th day the Lord called to Moses from within the cloud. Although the construction in Genesis 1 does not precisely fit this pattern, it does appear that the phrase, and it was evening and it was morning, functions in a similar manner to the preposition, that is, on the X day, comprised of an evening and a morning, bringing out the semantic significance, again, of a solar day, regardless of whether or not there was a sun. How is man supposed to understand the Bible if God's speaking above our understanding of how language works and the language that we're familiar with? De Vries alludes to the same kind of function. After all has been said, the fact that surprises us the most is that Banyam Hahu, the Hebrew word, translated into English letters, is used as often as it is in the epitome, summarizing characterization concerning a particular day in which Israel's God was in some way seen to be active in crucial confrontation with His people. There's the day. Although there is no hint of a confrontation in Genesis 1, we're drawing on how the words appear in the Bible, and then going back to Genesis 1 to see if that's applicable. It should be noted that the way, W-A-Y-E, phrases, translated "and it was," function to summarize the activities of the previous yom or day, so it seems reasonable to place the concluding phrases in Genesis 1 in this category, as the 24-hour day. The last 2 types are few in number, but use prepositions to signify a certain yom as a starting point or a terminal point of an action, and occurs a total of 7 times. Here too the word yom is singular and is associated with an ordinal number. An example of the starting point is in Ezra 36. On the first day of the 7th